إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله
نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونؤمن به ونتوكل عليه ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهد الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له ونشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له ونشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. All praise and thanks is due to Allah. We praise Allah, we seek assistance and forgiveness from Allah, and we seek refuge in Allah from our lower selves and from the wrongs that we sometimes commit. Whoever Allah guides, no one can misguide, and whoever Allah leaves astray, no one can guide. And we bear witness that there is none worthy of worship besides Allah, the one who is unique and has no partners. And we bear witness that Muhammad ﷺ is Allah's servant and messenger. Allah says in the Quran, O mankind, we have created you from a male and a female, and we have placed you into nations and tribes so that you may recognize one another. And the noblest of you in the sight of Allah is the one who is most deeply conscious of Him. Behold, Allah is all-knowing and all-aware. So what we want to talk about today is this concept of oneness in Allah and the contrast of that which is the diversity within humanity and how these two are interrelated. So often this verse that I've just quoted now is used by the orthodoxy to say that Allah has created humanity from the male and the female, and therefore that pairing is the only pairing that is sanctioned by Allah. That kind of relationship is the only relationship that Allah accepts. But all this verse is really telling us is that humanity started out from the coming together of the reproductive properties of the male and the female, and that is how we as a human race got multiplied. It is in no way stating that this is the only relationship that Allah has created and accepted. So if we examine why Allah has created the romantic relationships in the first place between human beings, we find that Allah says in Surah Yasin, which is regarded as the heart of the Quran, in Surah Yasin verse 36, Allah says, سبحان الذي خلق الأزواج كلها مما تنبت الأرض ومن أنفسهم ومما لا يعلمون. Allah says, in all praise and glory be to Allah, who has created all the pairs and partners in which the earth has produced, and in yourselves as mankind, and in that of which you have no knowledge. So here clearly in this verse Allah is talking about partnerships. And if we study these kind of partnerships, we find that they're not always just male and female. I mean, there's a study being done on animal sexuality and how sometimes animals also are pairing up with the same sex. And so when Allah mentions that, and within yourselves, it means that there must be more than one pairing that Allah is talking about. Allah also mentions in Surah 30 verse 21, وَمِنْ آيَاتِهِ أَنْ خَلَقَ لَكُم مِّنْ أَنفُسِكُمْ أَزْوَاجًا لِتَسْكُنُوا إِلَيْهَا وَجَعَلَ بَيْنَكُمْ مَوَدَّةً وَرَحْمَةً إِنَّ فِي ذَلِكَ لَآيَاتٍ لِقَوْمٍ يَتَفَكَّرُونَ. Allah says, and amongst His signs is this, that He has also created for you mates from among yourselves, that you may dwell in tranquility with them, and that He has put love and mercy between your hearts. Verily in that is a sign for those who reflect. So according to the Quran, the primary purpose of bringing partners together is not for procreation. In fact, it is to engender love between people and to instill a sense of mercy between people. So Allah's plan with creation as a whole was to make it as diverse as possible. And if we must explore all of creation, we would probably not be able to exhaust all the number of diversity that we can pick up within the entire creation. So humanity does not fall short of this equation, of this diversity. And there are many ways in which we as a human race are also divided, are also diverse. And so we are distinguished in our colors, we are distinguished in our race, our ethnicity, gender, sexual orientation, taste, temperaments, geography, and the list goes on. And so Allah further explains this diversity in the following verse by saying, وَمِنْ آيَاتِهِ خَلْقُ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ وَاخْتِلَافِ أَلْسِنَتِكُمْ وَأَلْوَانِكُمْ إِنَّ فِي ذَلِكَ لَآيَاتٍ لِلْعَالَمِينَ. Allah says, and among His wonders is the creation of the heavens and the earth, and the diversity of your tongues and your colors. For in this, behold, there are messages, indeed, for those who possess knowledge. So for all those who possess knowledge means all those who study, all those who research, all those who teach this diversity. For them to expand the understanding of this diversity. So when Allah talks about Alwan, which is your tongues, Al-Sina, which is your tongues, and Alwan, which is your colors. If we further expand this, your tongues means your language that you speak, the language that defines you as a person and as a from which culture you're coming from, the dialects within those languages, and your colors could be. There are so many interpretations of what colors could mean. Even our cultures gives us color besides the color of our skin. Our temperaments gives us a particular color. And our colors can also include our genders and our sexualities. So then we ask the question, why all this diversity? Why were we not just one community? That would have been nice, that would have been ideal, we would have all loved each other and there would have been no wars and fighting. So this is what Allah says in Surah 5 verse 48. لِكُلٍّ جَعَلْنَا مِنْكُمْ شَرِيعَةً وَمِنْهَاجًا وَلَوْ شَاءَ اللَّهُ لَجَعَلَكُمْ أُمَّةً وَاحِدَةً وَلَكِنْ لِيَبْلُوَكُمْ فِي مَا آتَاكُمْ فَاسْتَبِقُوا الْخَيْرَاتِ إِلَى اللَّهِ مَرْجِعُكُمْ جَمِيعًا فَيُنَبِّئُكُمْ بِمَا كُنْتُمْ فِيهِ تَخْتَلِفُونَ. Allah says, and unto every one of you we have appointed a different law and a way of life. So already here we're understanding that Islam is not the only way of life that Allah has created, but there are also other paths that leads to Allah. And if God had so willed, He could have surely made you all a single community. But He willed it otherwise in order to test you by means of what He has given you. So in other words, Allah has divided us in different colors, in different languages, in different temperaments. And so these are the things that Allah has given us. And so we are tested by this. And so we need to know what is the test behind this diversity. And then Allah says, so strive towards humanity's goodness. And unto God you must all return, and then He will make you truly understand all the things in which you differ. So this brings us then to a better understanding of the concept of oneness in Islam. We cannot appreciate the oneness of Allah if we cannot appreciate the diversity within humanity. When we strive towards bringing humanity to a point of unity, then we come to experience the unity of Allah. Because nobody has seen Allah. Nobody can claim that they are Allah conscious. We can only experience Allah through His creation. So one cannot claim to be Allah conscious, praying 5 times a day, but on the other hand you're judgmental of the difference that you see in your society. So this is why I feel sorry for Muslims who cannot accept difference in other faiths, who feel that they cannot accept the differences within society unless society conforms to social prescriptions of their own understanding of sexual orientation and gender. So the concept of diversity encompasses acceptance and respect for diversity. It doesn't mean that when one is going to accept something that one necessarily have to be it to accept it. It means understanding that each individual in society is unique and recognizing each person's individual difference. These can be along the dimensions of race, ethnicity, gender, sexual orientation, social economic status, age, physical disability, religious beliefs, political beliefs, other ideologies, and the list goes on. Appreciation for diversity is realized through the exploration of these differences in a safe, positive, and nurturing environment. In other words, one has to engage with society. I think the best thing for us, if we struggle with diversity, if we struggle with the differences in our society, is to engage with it, to learn what it's all about. So it's about understanding each other and moving beyond the simple tolerance of embracing, but in actual fact to celebrate the richness within us as a humanity. And so there are many ways that when we look in society, when we look into our own creation, how this unity of Allah stands contrast to the diversity within humanity and how they interrelate. For example, if we look at the process of cell division within pregnancy, how life is created from a single cell, a unit, and then dispersed into multiple different cells. If we look at the prism, for example, there's white light, one unit of light shining through the prism on one side, and there are multiple different colors coming out on the other side of the spectrum. If we don't accept the diversity, how can we claim to be Allah conscious? How can we claim to be united with Allah? Even if we look at the Big Bang Theory, how Allah created something out of nothing. A whole universe was created and constructed and systemized through nothing. And then Allah says in the Quran, وَفِي أَنفُسِكُمْ أَفَلَا تَتَفَكَّرُونَ. And even within yourself, don't you reflect? We are made up of a number of systems. We have a skeletal system, we have an endocrine system, we have a respiratory system, a reproductive system. And all of those systems together makes one body. So there are numerous examples of how we can see unity within diversity. بارك الله لي ولكم في القرآن الكريم ونفعنا إياكم بالآيات وذكر الحكيم إنه جواد ملك رؤوف رحيم. May Allah bless me and you through the guidance of this noble Quran, and may its teachings and remembrances benefit me and you. Truly Allah is the possessor of wealth, the sovereign, the all-good, the one who has authority over us, the all-loving, the all-merciful. Then Allah says in a beautiful hadith, Allah is recorded, and Allah has said, كنت كنزا مخفيا فأحببت أن أعرف فخلقت الخلق لكي أعرف. Allah says, I was a hidden treasure, then I wished to be known, then I created a creation, and through that I was known. So the highest stage of spiritual development within Islam is called ma'rifah, one of the words that are used in the sentence. And ma'rifah means complete unison with Allah, that there's no judgment, there's no discrimination, there's complete understanding and acceptance of Allah's creation. As I said, that's how we understand Allah, through His creation. And it is interesting to note how Allah says that I created in order to be known. And therefore the reverse can be said of that is that if we want to know Allah, we can only know Him through the acceptance and the celebration of His creation. So on the path towards Allah consciousness, there can be no judgment, there can be no discrimination, there can be no oppression. One cannot claim that I am Allah conscious because I pray 5 times a day, but yet I'm not seeing to the neighboring needs, or yet I don't understand why I judge difference in my society. So the best way to deal with our own ignorance of people and the diversity within humanity is not to fear it, but to engage with it in order to lessen our own ignorance of it and to understand it better. So the knowing and appreciation of Allah starts with the knowing of the self, and then how that self relates to other people in our society. And many saints in Islam who teach us that the more they come to understand themselves in relation to their societies, the more they come to realize how insignificant they are in the bigger scheme of things. And that's part of taming the ego, that we are not important, the world doesn't evolve around us. So when we bring ourselves to the realization that we need to love one another, Even if we don't like each other, we have to love each other in order to appreciate God and to start. And this all starts with the self. As I said, the famous Sufi saying is "Man arafa nafsahu faqad arafa rabba." The one who understands himself understands his Creator. Just before I end, also I just had a call now, just before Jummah, from a person that I went with to go and see a gay person that was terminally ill in Norway. He still went with me. He's not just passed away. A very sad story. His family never accepted him because of his sexuality. He's a white man who embraced Islam, so there was a double discrimination because his family also didn't accept him for being Muslim. And when he passed away this morning, there was nobody of his family was even there to see him off. And I'm happy that I was at least instrumental in his life, that I could go there and I could make dua for him and see him. So we also pray, inshallah, that Allah forgive his shortcomings, that Allah grant that he's in a better place now than what he was before. And that Allah grant that through our understanding and acceptance of diversity, that less of these things will be seen in future, inshallah. اللهم انصر من نصر دين محمد اللهم انصر المجاهدين في كل مكان اللهم يسر ولا تعسر اللهم تمم بالخير وأنت الكريم الميسر. Oh Allah, assist all those who assist the cause of Muhammad. Oh Allah, assist all those who strive towards good in every place. Oh Allah, make things easy for us and remove difficulty from us. Oh Allah, complete us in goodness. Truly you are the most noble of those who provide.
Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. Ashhadu an la ilaha illa